Hi, folks. This is Red We Met, and today we have a very special guest, Chris Curtis. And Chris is backstage right now, but he's coming out. He's an author. He wrote a book, a very fine book. And let's introduce Chris. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
We're there finally. Hi,
Yeah.
Tracy. Hi, Tracy. How you doing? Howard, Catherine, all the way from Tracy's in Great Britain. Julie M. How you doing, sweetheart? Staying warm, I hope, out in Iowa. Pink hand waving. Okay, Cynthia. Well, let's start out, Chris. Chris and I were talking, so I'm going to kind of lead this in. Chris, going back in your life, did you have what we would call an average childhood or a normal childhood? What was it like?
Childhood in the beginning. My childhood in the beginning was very normal. My dad was a baseball coach. We were well off. We had everything we wanted. I can't remember not having much. I played baseball, rode my bike around. It was a great childhood. Um, you know, Things just started to deteriorate around the age, I think about 11 or 12. I remember going to school on the first day of fifth grade, and one of my friends asked me, like, "Hey, why are you still wearing the same clothes from last year?" And I was thinking to myself, like, I don't care. Like, all I was worried about back then was my bike going to make it through the day. Um, and After that, things started to get a little bit rocky. I noticed that my parents were arguing a lot. There wasn't, lost the house. Well, I didn't know lost the house. The house was just sold, and we moved down the street. We rented a house, and what happened was I started going to the new school. I met some new friends, and it was cool. I was getting along fine. And then one day after school, um, my friends, like, they weren't waiting for me after school like they usually do. So I go down the street and they're all waiting for me around the corner, and they had a weird look on their faces. I kind of knew something was wrong, and they started calling me a drug addict, saying, you're on cocaine, blah blah blah. Your dad's a cocaine, drug addict, and this and that. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, what's going on? I'm just a kid. I don't know nothing about cocaine. I've heard about it, but I definitely don't think my dad's using it. And I went home. I was crying. I didn't know. They said they can't hang around me no more, my new friends. And so I went home crying. I was just a kid. And I told my mom, and then she started crying. And it was a big ordeal. I remember this whole situation, which is, some things when you're a kid, you remember, some things you don't. But like really defining moments in your life, you seem to remember them. So, I was kind of like outcasted at school. Nobody would hang around me. And this went on for like a month, and then I met a friend, a friend named Brandon, and so we started hanging out and stuff like that, and we became really good friends actually. But then my parents got divorced, um, and we went to live with my dad. It was another house just right down the street. We stayed in the same school, but the house was run down. My dad had a roommate living there. He had a new girlfriend. I didn't understand what was going on until a few months later, like New Year's night. Me and my friend Jared, a new friend that I met, he lived down the street. We were sitting at the dining room table, And I was 13 years old at the time, and my dad comes walking in, with and pulls out like back in the 80s they had little cocaine vials, and he pulls out a little vial. I didn't really know what it was at the time. I kind of was just like, I didn't know what was going on. So he pulled it out and like poured some on the table and chopped it up and made 3 lines. And I'm looking at Jared like, we're both looking at each other like, what's going on here? And then my dad snorted a line, and then he handed it to me. He goes, "Go ahead, son." And I thought it was like a joke at first. I thought he was just like messing with us. And so I did it. And right away I felt like a euphoria, and I gave it to Jared. Yeah, go ahead, And then I immediately thought back, school were telling me my dad was on cocaine, all those memories came back, and all that situation came back. And so my dad started me and my best friend on cocaine. This is like 1983 or 84, somewhere around there. And what happened was, after that, that's what we did, was drugs. It was normalized in the house, using drugs. And then we realized that my dad's roommate was a big time cocaine dealer, selling it out of the house. And it was just like just drugs, smoking weed, and drinking. I didn't really I stopped doing schoolwork, and I thought it was the best thing in the world. When you're a kid, you don't understand certain things, and if your dad's doing it, and he thinks it's okay, well, you're definitely being a kid, and he's giving it to you. You definitely think it's okay, So essentially what happened after that was I just continued to get in trouble. I didn't do my schoolwork, and then when my dad would say, "Hey, you got to do your schoolwork," or "Why are you doing this? Why are you getting in trouble?" In my mind, I was thinking, well, you're selling drugs. What are you worried about what I'm doing? So there was like I started rebelling, we lived in a really well-off neighborhood, Orange and Villa Park. The city of Orange in Orange County is like, it's middle class, but then you get to Villa Park and it's pretty nice area. So there's a lot of rich kids, and then there's, us right down the street in Orange. So it was a big adjustment. I was always getting in trouble. I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about school. I thought I was. What kind of trouble?
Yes.
At first, getting in trouble at school, getting referrals, just doing stupid stuff, and we get Saturday work studies where you had to go to, school on Saturday for a few hours. And then I got kicked out of there, then one day we get kicked out of a Saturday work study. And I remember the situation, and it wasn't really our fault. It was some other kids that started it, and we kind of said something, but since we were like the bad kids in the school, they kicked us out of the work study. I can't remember the exact part, but I think I wrote about it in the book. But it was something about smelling like cigarettes or something. And then so when they kicked us out, we're like, we're just roaming around the school. We're already in trouble. Like, my dad's already going to get the phone call. He's already going to be mad, So, we decided to break into the school cafeteria. And I was so small at this time that I was able to climb through the little window where you get the food out of. I was just, I was a really small kid. I was like just skinny, on cocaine. I was a small kid, So we kicked the window through, and I went inside, opened the door, and we stayed there on and off all weekend long. We destroyed it. We broke all the trophies, threw the piano off the stage, stole everything. We just destroyed the place, And that following Monday, we go to school, and there's a bunch of cops there, obviously. And around lunchtime, they called us up to the office and arrested us. And I went to juvenile hall.
Okay. Where was that at?
They had us there overnight. My dad came in the city of Orange. Orange County, California. They got the juvenile hall right there. And so my dad comes and picks me up the next day. You know, I stayed overnight, you know, and he was mad. You know, he was pissed off. You know, and the most reason why he was pissed off was because you know, I could have brought the cops to the house and everybody would have got busted. You know, more of a, you know, you could have got us all in trouble. What are you doing? You know, as to where you know, hey, you know, what, you know, you got in trouble, like be more concerned about, you know, I mean, I'm sure he might have been, but I remember him being mad that I could have brought the cops to the house and got them in trouble. And you know, so that we all got put on probation. We all got put on probation, and you know, we had to pay like a fine or whatever. But
this is at 13, 14 years old?
yeah, I think it was around teen at that time. Yeah. And you know, so I had to go to the probation department like, you know, once a month or something like that. And I remember uh I remember I remember him taking me to the probation department, and on the way, you know, he would be driving down the street in his truck and he'd be looking around. He'd pull out his little vial. He'd pull out the little vial and he would tap it on the steering wheel and, you know, give me a little shot of Coke before we see the probation officer, you know. I think back at it now, and I used to think it was so cool, you know, like, oh, my dad's great, you know. And I didn't realize, you know, till as things just deteriorated, my life was just in shambles, that I really start understanding, you know, what's going to happen with my life, you know. And there was a lot of like, you know, going back and forth, like, well, when I turn 18, I'm going to join the military, I'll be fine, or just whatever, you know. And obviously that didn't happen, you know. I ended up, you know, my dad ended up getting busted, and then I moved into him with another house after my mom lost her place again, so I moved back in with my dad and his girlfriend in an apartment, you know, a few miles away. And now he didn't know where to get cocaine. He didn't know where to get it, you know, like so now I'm getting it from Santa Ana, which is part of Orange County. It's like a gang infested area. He would have me go down there and get it for him or whatever. And there was a few times when my friends would be there to pick me up, you know, and I'd be like, hey, Dad, I need my allowance so I can go, you know, and he'd be like, yeah. He'd go, hey, can you go to Santa Ana and give me some Coke? I'm like, I can't. My friends are here. So I would take off down the stairs, and then he would yell, hey, you're on restriction. Like, you didn't take the trash out or something stupid. So I go in, and, you know, at the time, being so young, I didn't realize really what happened. And, you know, the trash can was only like a quarter way full. Why would you take it out? You know, why would you take out an empty trash can? So then he'd come in the room and say, hey, can you give me some Coke now? Well, yeah, of course. I'm on restriction. Of course I'm going to go down there, you know. But years later, I realized while I was sitting in prison on my first term in the 90s, I thought about the whole situation, and the first time I went to prison was in 1996.
And what was it for?
1996 was the first time I went to prison, but I didn't realize that I shot two people and got in a high-speed chase.
Okay.
After like a month after the shooting, I got in a high-speed chase and got 6 years for that. But I didn't kill him or anything, but it was aggravated assault with a firearm. I kind of got lucky that it wasn't attempted murder. You know, it was more like a self-defense thing. But while I was sitting during that time, I realized, after thinking, because you think a lot in prison, I realized that my dad was putting me on restriction for not getting cocaine, you know, and that just made me more angry. But essentially what happened was I just blamed everything on my dad. You know, I'm a drug addict because of my dad. I can't learn because I got ADHD. I just can't do anything. I'm just going to be a drug addict forever, you know? And I just continue to destroy my life, you know? Um, I went through prison my first term. I did about 6 years. It was on a level 4 yard. That was just the highest level. And you see a lot of stuff, you know? You see a lot of stabbings. You see stuff. People are just snakes, man. They're just preying on anything they can. They're miserable. You know, 80% of the yard is lifers. They're never getting out, especially at that time back in the 90s. If you had a life sentence, it was like having life without. You're just not getting out of prison. So there was a lot of people with no hope, you know. So you could imagine that the environment. You got a bunch of criminals, violent criminals, walking around a yard with 900 people with no hope of ever getting out of prison.
So,
you know,
at this point,
what are they going to do? You know, and then you got to follow rules.
At this point in your life, you felt emotionally deprived, so to speak. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, you just you know, I didn't have a life sentence, but I was on the yard with my cellie. All my cellies had life sentences, you know. I just got in a lot of trouble right off the bat when I went to prison. My first term, I was on a level 3 yard for like 4 months, and then from there I went to the shoe, and then from the shoe I went to a level 4 yard. So right away I was just, you know, right on the high level.
What'd you do in prison to get in trouble?
A battery on an inmate. So anytime you commit battery on an inmate, like a righteous battery, you do a shoe term. Especially back then, they send you to the shoe. There's no so I went to the Corcoran shoe. It was probably like 1997. And I stayed there for a while, and then I got kicked out to A yard at Corcoran State Prison. So, you know, so you just go through the days, you know. You just go through the days waiting to get out, you know, and try to survive. There was no hope for lifers to get out. I wasn't a lifer, but what I'm saying is that there was no rehabilitation. It was just do your time, do your job, get out, and hurry back. That's what it came down to, pretty much. I paroled in 2002, right after 9/11, and I was under the, you know, I had every intention of not using drugs. I stopped using drugs in prison. I had every intention of not using drugs. I got a job when I got out right away. I got a good job working with the union. And I was doing good. The problem is that I wasn't familiar with recovery. I wasn't familiar with being around people, places, and things, being around old friends is what it comes down to.
And
I thought I can go around my old friends that were still using.
And relationships. Did you have a relationship at that time?
I thought I could do that. And I did with a girl.
Yeah, a
Say that again?
With a girl, or also your friends, relationship. You've got buddies, don't you?
I did. Yeah, I had a relation. I met a girl as soon as I got out, and see, that was a problem too. Like, I'll get to that later. But yeah, I did meet a girl as soon as I got out, moved in with her, and all that. But also, not only that, I was hanging around my old friends, and then next thing you know, the lifestyles comes back. You start, you know, wanting to, hey, this, you know, you start wanting to relive the lifestyle, which is more addicting than using drugs to some people, like running around with a gun, selling drugs and all that. That's excitement. You know, for me, it was exciting. And what essentially happened was I started selling drugs. And I did it for like a month or two before I even started using. You know, I think, oh yeah, I'll sell drugs I won't even use, you know. Well, that went on for about a month or two, and the next thing you know, I started using, and it was over. After that, it was over. I got a dirty test, and I was on the run. And this went on for about 5 months. And I ended up getting busted again. Cops surrounded me. I took off in a car, got in another high-speed chase, got caught with a gun, a bunch of meth, and, went to essentially got a life sentence. I was struck out. I got 28 to life.
Convicted firearm, a convicted
And
felon with a
that was a terrible experience. Yeah, I don't know. Say that again.
You were a convicted felon with a firearm.
I didn't understand what you said.
Convicted felon.
Yeah.
With a firearm.
Yeah. 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 And
That's
a bunch of meth, a bunch of money. Yeah. Yeah. So what happened was I got 28 to life. And, my life at that point, my life was over. I thought, that's it. My life is over. They're not letting nobody out. It's just not happening. And, I went to prison. At first I was just, torn up over it. I couldn't believe I let my family down. I let my daughter down. And, essentially it just ruined my life. That's nothing worse than a life sentence, because at that time they weren't letting lifers out. So, I went back to level 4 yard. I went to Salinas Valley to start my 28 to life sentence. And, you just learn how to deal with it. You adapt to it. It's either that or you just, you're going to be miserable, but you just learn how to, like, every day you get up, you work out, you go to your, try to end about 15 years down on the road after being in a bunch of, and I woke up in Ad Seg one day. It was our birthday. It was, December 28, 2015. And I just told myself, I just don't want to do this anymore. If I'm going to die in prison, I want to die a good person. I just can't do this no more. And at this time in the system, they started having all these programs for rehabilitation, and so I made a decision when I get to the next yard after I come out of Ad Seg, I'm going to, surround myself with people who are in these programs and try to change. And, lo and behold, I learned a lot of stuff about myself, through CGA, Criminal Gangs Anonymous, Victims Impact, Houses of Healing, NA, AA, all that stuff. I learned a lot. And what I really learned the most for me is that, I was just had a lot of resentments inside. I was always blaming my dad.
Hostility?
Say that again?
Hostility?
Yeah. Resentments, hostility. Yeah. Hostility, resentments, whatever you want to call it. I just blamed him for everything. And that was my excuse for life, was just blaming all my problems on everybody else. And, it just wrecked me. And until I took responsibility for my actions and my life, as soon as I did that, I was able to change. And it took over time. It's like growing up all over again. Bless you. Everybody has their way of, dealing with recovery, drug addiction or whatever it is, For me, I just got sick and tired of it. I just blamed all my problems and all my actions on everybody else but myself. When I stopped doing that, I was really able to understand that, I could do anything I want. I could do anything I want. I can go to school. I can get a degree. I could do anything. And I did that. I got my AA degree. I got electrical vocation. I'm an electrician now. I wrote a book.
Did you?
And I essentially did everything that I said I could never do.
Did you start writing in prison?
I wrote it in prison. I actually wrote it a couple years before I changed. I started like doing little things before I really ended up in the hole and changed. Like I wrote the book, but I started to do all the stuff I said I never could do. I did it. I got my GED. I got my AA degree. I got my business entrepreneurship certificate. I got electrical vocation, all this stuff that I said I couldn't do when I was growing up. And, because I got ADHD or just whatever, I just took responsibility for my life, and just all these things I said I couldn't do, I did it. No excuses, study. I have to study harder because I have ADHD, but I did that. I had to do this or whatever. I just did it. And essentially, I just started changing. I started being able to take certain things out of certain groups, and then like a few years later, they start talking about, they're going to start giving nonviolent three strikers action at board to go to board to get out. Because around 2013 or 14, they started letting people out. So it was like, I wasn't even like, thinking, wasn't even thinking it was going to happen, But then the Prop 57 came into effect, and it said if, nonviolent three strikers, if they got 15 years or more in, they can go to board and get out early. Because essentially I was struck out for selling drugs. I was doing life for selling drugs. My first term was violent, but my controlling case was nonviolent because it was selling drugs, possession of a firearm or whatever. But so next thing you know, I get a slip, says I'm going to the Board of Prison Terms. So you could believe that I did every freaking thing possible to make sure that I aced that thing and I was going to get a date. I didn't think I was going to get a date, but I tried. I was going to do everything I can, fail or, whatever. I was going to do it. And at my hearing, I got found suitable, and I got out 4 months later. So I paroled in January 2022. And
with how much paper?
Here I am now. I got a great life.
With how much paper?
With how much what?
How much paper? How much?
What do you mean?
Parole? When you were paroled, how much? How many?
Yeah, I get off in. Well, it's from a year to 3 years. So, but I'm going to be off in January.
This coming January.
I'll be off in January. I've gotten in no trouble. I work. Yeah, this coming January, I get off.
And here it is.
So, I'm just. Yeah. Yeah. And I'll say this, man. It's amazing, that all the stuff I'm doing now that, I said I can never do, I got a normal life, I got a great.
Did you miss growing up because you were in prison?
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
Did you miss growing up because you're in prison? So now you're out of prison, and now you can do all the things, go to concerts, stay out late at night, look at the stars.
Yeah. So that's one thing I've been doing a lot lately is going to concerts. Last weekend I went to the Winchester Mansion with my girlfriend. That was cool, man. That was you know what the Winchester Mansion is, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw it on your Facebook page.
I've been going to concerts. I went there. I've been, yeah, dude, it was cool. I go to work. I go to the gym, and that's pretty much it. Stay away from trouble. Excuse me. Yeah, I got a great life now. I've never been happier as far as I can remember.
That's great,
awesome.
Chris. That's great. So you have this book that you wrote when you were in prison. And I think it was during COVID that I spoke to you and said, what are you going to do with this thing?
It was after. I got out at the end of COVID, like right at the end when they were just opened everything back up. But when I talked to you, it was just waiting to come out. It's already done. It was just waiting to for them to put it on, publish it, and it's been out for like, I don't know, I want to say 8 months, since March or February or something.
And why don't you tell us about the book itself? What is the name? Tell us more about the book.
Here's the book right here. Orange County, The Dark Side. Essentially, it just goes through my childhood, a lot more in detail, of course. How it all escalated. When I really started running the streets and carrying a gun, and when I just had no compassion, or I didn't care, no respect for nothing, no respect for the law, was antisocial, and I just destroyed my life. It can't have, in my life was drugs, guns, and gangs. Like that was it. There was nothing more for me out there. I could never change. And
well, that was your camaraderie. That was your camaraderie, the gangs.
Yeah, of course. And I ran the streets. It's about, I tried not to glamorize too much about the lifestyle, but in order for me to tell the story, to get through everything, I had to talk about certain things. But writing the book, it made me understand, that it was more like, it made me understand a lot about myself. It helped me get a lot of that stuff out. Before, like, it made me remember a lot of things that I forgot, because as I was writing, I would remember certain things, and, it just, it made me feel better about myself too, in a way that I could accomplish something. The biggest thing of me writing that book too was, after I wrote it, was like, dude, I wrote a book, which is not an easy thing to do. I don't know if a lot of people have ever tried it, but it takes a lot of work, man, especially with a pencil and a piece of paper and a typewriter. It's not like I had, Word or anything to do it with, but, and it just goes through my life, man. It's exciting. There's shootings, and then there's the change. There's the part in there that how I changed and how I went through the board process, and now the life that I have now, it's a good book for people that, think that their life is over after prison or after drug addiction, because if I could change as bad as I was, anybody can. You just have to, again, you have to take responsibility for your life, man. You have to want to do it, or you have to find the right support network, because it's not easy. It's not easy to get out of prison and start from nothing.
Michael Graham is saying,
what's that?
Michael Graham is saying, did writing your book help change your life for the better?
It did, because it gave me the confidence and the understanding that I could accomplish something. It made me realize that, I am smart. You know what I mean? I can do something, positive, of course.
So when you let go of this negativity, you have 3 months left on paper, and then you're totally free. You don't have to check in or anything. You're through. And you haven't gone back.
Done.
You probably changed your company that you're around, right? The people that you're around?
Yeah. Actually, okay, so let me explain a little bit about that. So at least 90% of the people that I used to run the streets with are sober now. They're in recovery. They own halfway houses. They own businesses. They all got, like, when I got busted, they all got like 7 years. Like, I got life. I just went all the way with everything. I just didn't know how to stop. And so they've been out, but everybody, like 90% of the people that I used to run the streets with, they've been sober. They own houses, they own businesses. And of course I hang around with them, you know. I've made some friends on the streets, you know, and you really understand who they are after you get out and you're not using drugs. There's a big support network. Um, it's amazing. The first term when I got out of prison, there was nothing there. You know, everybody was on drugs still. There was no support. The parole department was doing everything they can, you know, and said earlier about relationships. So the two biggest reasons why people go back to prison is toxic relationships and substance abuse. That's like the biggest thing. Like when I first got out, I stayed out of relationships for the most part. But you know, if you first get out of prison and you get in a relationship, as soon as there's as soon as it becomes toxic, the only thing you know how to do is go back to drugs to fix that, or you run. You know, you don't know how to deal with these problems. That's why, you know, I learned a lot of that in prison, in these groups that I took, you know, like make sure when you get out, you get your life together, you get your job, you get your insurance, you do everything yourself so you don't owe nobody nothing. And I did that, you know, and it's not easy, you know, but there's a lot of support out there for lifers that are getting out of prison now in California. It's different. So if you really want to change, you can, you know, and if you do go back to using after serving a life sentence, I don't know what to say, man. Like, there's like 3% of lifers who get out reoffend. They start using again or just whatever. Not a big percentage at all. You know, getting through the board of prison terms is it's not easy because they're going to be able to see right through you if you're lying. You can't just go in front of the board and say, "Hey, I'm good." You know, it doesn't work like that. You got to be able to explain, like, you know, how you became who you were and who you are now, how you've changed. What do you know about these groups? Do you understand, like, you know, do you have a relapse prevention plan? What happens if, you know, you start using it again? What are you going to do? You know, all that stuff, you know, and, you know, it works, man. There's a lot of lifers that have paroled in the state of California now that are doing just as good as me, if not better, you know. And honestly, you know, I owe all my everything I have now. I owe it to God. You know, I'm a firm believer. I'm a Christian, and I believe that, you know, He didn't let me out of prison just to go to work every day and just live my life. That's why, like, now I'm trying to find my place. Like, I've gone to a couple schools and talked to kids. I've done a couple other things, but that's what I'm trying to do now, is tell my story to kids and try to give back, you know, and do what I can, you know. Yeah. Like even the story in general for somebody who hasn't used, you got people out there in society that, you know, whatever's holding them back from being successful, I believe that, you know, because they give up, you know. Like, I'll give you an example. So my theory now is that, you know, if you want to do something, do it. I was just told the other day that I'm self-willed or something. Self-willed, I believe, which means if somebody tells me something that I shouldn't do it, I still do it anyways. But the reason that what I'm saying here is that if yeah, even if you fail doing it, you still succeeded. You understand what I'm saying?
You made the effort.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Even if you fail, if you try to do something and you fail, you still succeeded. If you don't do it, you're going to fail anyways. But you have to fail to grow.
Dobad
I
says,
think we're cutting out a little bit.
okay, Dobad says, did he have to leave the main line to end up making parole?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old are you now, Chris? Joseph Coyle wants to know how
I'll be
old are you?
52 on the 24th. I'll be 52 on the 24th.
And what happened to your dad?
When I got busted in 2002 for my life sentence, he like 2 months later he had a heart attack and died.
So basically,
Like 2 months later he had
you were in prison without any family support.
Well, no, I had my mom. My mom has always my mom has always been there for me. During that time, my mom was there the whole time. And some of my friends were there.
Are they still your friends?
I couldn't hear you. Did you say something?
Are they still your friends?
Yes. One of my really close friends, she's a girl. Yeah, we're like really good friends. I have a bunch of friends that I ran the streets with, you know. For me, they're they're not using meth or whatever. They may drink now and then, but my problem is meth. If I use meth, I get a gun and I go to prison in that order. I don't have no off switch. I just turn into an idiot pretty much is essentially what it comes down to. But my life is great, and like I said, I go to church on Sundays. That's my thing. I like going to church or Bible study during the week, and I go to the gym. I think it's very important for people to go to the gym in recovery because it really it lets loose of a lot of stress,
A workout.
and it makes you feel good about yourself. So that's my thing. Everybody's different. I love it. I go every day. Matter of fact, I usually go right after work, but now I'm going to be going right after this. You know what I mean?
Tim Hunt is asking.
I don't miss it. No matter what time.
Tim Hunt is asking.
You know what I mean?
Chris, did you go to rehab voluntarily?
So
did you go to rehab voluntarily?
That was different.
Did you go to rehab voluntarily, or was it?
I was in prison when I got sober.
Okay.
No, I was in prison when I got sober. But it is court ordered for me to go to transit housing unit, and I did that when I got out of prison, which is more like they just want to watch you for about 6 months and see what's going on. It's more just to keep up on you, just to see if you're, getting yourself back into society without.
People are saying hi. Kissy Cat says Orange County is fancy now. It's an upper scale community. Is that correct?
Well, you got the nice part of Orange County, and then you got the ghetto part of Orange County, just like any place else. I ran in Anaheim, which is, it's gang infested, just like LA. You got nice parts of Orange County. Don't get me wrong, but you got bad parts of Orange County. People see the Orange County housewives or whatever, and they think, oh, Orange County is this old rich. It's just not like that everywhere.
That's TV. That's Fantasyland.
Yeah, pretty much.
Kissy Cat has a question. Whoa, wrong question. Does fentanyl scare you?
I'm lucky that I wasn't using during that time. So back when I was really into drugs, it was meth. But fentanyl is very scary. 2 people every 5 minutes are dying from fentanyl overdose. Fentanyl it's in everything, and kids are dying from it left to right. It's like, I'll give you an example. Like, you could, in Orange County, off of Beach Boulevard or a lot of places, there's a lot of homeless people now. And they're all slumped over or whatever. They're just, everybody's high on fentanyl because they put it in meth, they put it in whatever. It does scare me. It scares me for the youth, because those are those kids now, they that's what they're doing, man. And it's scary. It is very scary, yes.
Well, isn't fentanyl sometimes in meth? It's laced with it.
Yeah, it is. It's all coming over from Mexico, and it's not even real meth anymore. It's just a bunch of, it's just a bunch of junk. But yes, they're finding fentanyl in everything, and it's all over the place.
Roy Munson, he's from Ireland, and he says fixing the mind takes more care and consideration than drying out.
Yeah.
Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, it does. Prison essentially saved my life. Yeah.
So you documented this all in your book.
What's that?
I said, so you documented this all in your book, your life story.
Yeah. Yeah, my life story. Yeah. I changed all the names, except a few people that are in there that didn't want their name. What's up?
I was going to say, so tell us more about your book itself.
Like I said, the book just essentially talks about, how I grew up. It talks about, it goes through with me running the streets when I first started running the streets, what I did, and how I ended up with a life sentence. It's heartbreaking, it's exciting, and then in the end, it's a great story because I came out of it. I came out of a life sentence and changed my life, and now here I am, sitting on here with you having an interview. And I'm sober. I have a great job, and life's good. Be off parole in January.
You've got a nice girl.
Christmas is right around the corner. be my second Christmas that I can remember, and I don't know how long.
And you have a
What's
nice
that?
girl. You've got a good relationship going now. Yes.
Yeah.
All the things you missed, they came to you. They came back.
I got a good relationship going with. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I deserve it,
You deserve
but I have earned it. I mean,
deserve it.
at times I think I don't even, like I still.
You worked for it. You deserve it.
I couldn't hear what you said. You cut out.
You worked for it, and you deserve it.
Yeah, you could say that I worked for it. I mean, if I deserve it, after a lot of the things that I've done, I mean, that's, obviously God has more in store for me than prison. I think it's my duty now is to talk to kids and try to, help kids to prison or death, and I hope that, that someday that I could save a few lives, and, that's pretty much what I'm trying to do now.
Chris, it may be obvious to some people. I know it's obvious to you and me. We don't have the best connection. Would you like to come back next Monday and talk more? Chris, we have a bad connection. Would you like to come back next Monday, and talk more?
Are you there?
Yes. Did you hear what I said?
Okay. Yeah, you cut out. I couldn't hear what you said.
Chris, would you like to come back next Monday because of the bad connection and talk more?
Of course I would. Yes.
How many folks want to see Chris come back and talk more next Monday? If you want him to come back more and talk next Monday, hit a number 1. If you don't want him to, hit a number 2. In the comments, please. It seems that everyone wants you to come back and talk more. Jim Magnifici.
I'd be happy to, man. I appreciate that.
Everybody says come back and talk some more. Maybe we can get a better connection. We can work on this thing and we'll get it working better. But your book is available where? I like your book. I really do. And I don't read that much about drugs or things like that. I stay more with the genre, the mob and things like that. But I enjoyed your book. I liked it a lot because it told me about you.
I appreciate that.
So I'll look forward to, I'll talk to you in between, but I'll look forward to seeing you next Monday at 4:00. Is that okay?
Okay.
And anybody that wants to purchase, anybody that wants to purchase Orange County, The Dark Side, they can order it at Amazon at this point. And later on, Chris is going to be setting up a website where you can actually order it off the website, like people order my book off the website that I have, and tell people more about it, where they can purchase it.
Okay, or you can follow me on Instagram, which is OC the Dark Side 8083, and there's a link on there where you could click and order the book there. Or you could follow me on TikTok, which is OC the Dark Side, and then there's a link there. Oh, to buy the book, you got to type in Orange County, the Dark Side, by Christopher Curtis, and then it will come up. But I'm trying to set a bunch of stuff up to make it easier. If you want a signed copy, if you want me to, send you a signed copy, you could email me at chriscurtis8083@gmail.com, and we can figure something out, and I can sign a copy and send it off to you.
I put those links in the description down below the video. I have your links in there, so they can contact you on Instagram, or they can contact you on Facebook. I want to thank you, Chris. Thank you for coming by. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I'll see you guys next week.
Take care, buddy. Have a good
day, man.
Okay, that was Chris Curtis. And obviously, we're having some technical difficulties. So this is what it is, folks. How you doing, Roy? No, it doesn't, Roy. Excuse me. How you doing? I can't say that. Faux MR 0024. Jim Maggs, thank you. Jim, tune in next week and we'll see what we have. More of it, I'm sure. And I'm sure Chris thanks you also, Mobbed Up Broadcast. Thank you so much. Tune in next week and maybe we'll have a better connection and we can have a better interview. Doban, was he friends with Powder? I don't know. Save that for next week on Monday. Monday at 4:00. Nice that the Kissy Cat. Nice that he can share a story. It really is. I thought he was somebody that you might be interested in. And I want to thank all of you for stopping by. Thank you very much. And meanwhile, it's, I don't know, dinner time for a lot of us that are on Central Time and East Coast Time. And all you people that are on West Coast Time, you're probably getting ready for dinner or doing something else. But I want to thank you all for stopping by. And have a good evening. Enjoy yourself. God bless you. And I'll see you Wednesday on my vlog. Wednesday, we have a good, Adam and I have a very good show coming up. It's Adam's show. I'll be joining him. And we'll see how it goes. Don't forget, my vlog. God bless, folks.
The combination of the videotapes and Ouimette's testimony resulted in the conviction of 2 men on extortion charges. One of them was Frank Schweiz, known in syndicate circles as the German, a feared mob terrorist and a suspect in a number of gangland murders.
He was described to me by other outfit individuals as the most feared hitman. And as he said to me, my reputation precedes me, son.